Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Jaya Gopi
Jana Vallabha Girvardhari
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana
Yashodandana Brajana Ranjana
Yamuna Dira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Varchari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Hare Rama
Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna
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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
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 Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
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 Hare
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 Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama 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 Hare
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 Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
And thank you for joining Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll start the verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayaudirhe Nashtaparayeshu Abhitreshu Nishta
Nityam
Bhagavata
Bhagavate
Sevai Bhavati
Bhagavati
Uttamai
Tamashloke
Bhage Bhaktir
Bhagavati
Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devahi Nandanaya Cha Nantakopa Kumaraya.
Kumaraya Govindaya Namo
Namo.
Namo.
So we are reading from Canto 3, the status quo, text, chapter 33 and text 35. So this is activities of Kapila. We'll read the verse. Ashtayogam samastaya
Aste yogam samastaya
Shankya chaya abhishtutah
Sankhya charya sutaha
Trayanam api lokanam
Trayanam pilokanam
Upashantyaya samahitah.
Upashanthyaya samahitaha.
Okay, we'll read the other verses also and then we'll do the translation. Etan nihatitam tata
Etan nigaditam tata
yat prastoham tavanah
Yat
Yasoham
prastoham
Tavanaka
tavanaga
kapilascha cha samvado
Kapilascha
Kapilasya Samvado
samvado
devahutyascha pavanah.
Devahutyascha
Devahutyascha
pavanaha
Pavanaha
Then text 37. Ya idam anushnoti yo bittatte
Ya
Ya
idam
idam
manushroti yo
anushantiyo
vidhate
vidate
kapila munir matamatma yoga guhyam.
Kapila
Kapila
munir matam
matam
atma
atma
yoga
yoga guhyam
guhyam
Bhagavati kritadihi shuparnaketau
Bhagavati
Bhagavate
Kritadihi
Kritadi
Suparnaketa
Suparnaketa
upalabate bhavat padaravindam.
Upalabhate
Upalabhate
Bhagavat
Bhagavat
Padarabindam
Padarabindam
So going back to text 35, Aste,
Aste
Aste
he remains.
He remains
Hirman
Yogam,
Yogam
Yogam
yoga.
Yoga
Yoga
Samastaya,
Samastaya
Samastaya
having practiced.
having
Having
practiced
practiced
Sankhya,
Sankhya
of the Sankhya philosophy.
of the Sankhya philosophy
Acharya, Acharyahi,
Acharyaihi
by the great teachers.
by the great teachers
Abhistutaha,
Abhistutaha
worshipped.
worship
Trayanam,
Rayana
Pranam
three.
Pri
Api,
Api
certainly.
certainly
Lokanam,
Lokanam
of the worlds.
of the world
Upasantyai,
Upasantyai
for the deliverance.
for the deliverance
Samahitaha,
Samahitaha
fixed in trance.
fixed in trance.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
So what I'll do, just because we need to cover 4 texts today, including chapter 4, canto 4. So I'm not going to repeat all the meanings for the repetition. So I'm just going to go ahead with the translation. Even now, Kapila Muni is staying there in trance for the deliverance of the conditioned souls in the 3 worlds. And all the acharyas or great teachers of the system of Sankhya philosophy are worshipping him. Translation 4, text 36. My dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered. O sinless one, the descriptions of Kapila Deva and his mother and their activities are the purest of all pure discourses. Text 37 translation. The description of the dealings of Kapila Deva and his mother is very confidential, and anyone who hears or reads this narration becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is carried by Garuda, and thereafter enters into the abode of the Supreme Lord to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Purport. The narration of Kapila Dev and his mother Devahuti is so perfect and transcendental that even one only hears or reads this description, he achieves the highest perfection goal of life, for he engages in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt that Devahuti, who had the Supreme Lord as her son and who followed the instructions of Kapila Dev so nicely, attained the highest perfection of human life. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the third canto, 33rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Activities of Kapila. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Nanajanasalakhya Sakshurmilitam Yena Tashmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaptantikam Vandeham Sri Gurun Sri Yudapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Shakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Tam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Krishna Chandra Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostade Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here, so we are almost end of the Canto 3. And so the Canto 3 and 4 are considered thighs of Supreme Lord Krishna. So we know, the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is Canto 1 and 2, like that it progresses to the face of the Lord and forehead of the Lord. So now we are third canto and fourth canto, which are considered thighs of lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And Lord Kapila Dev instructed Devahuti about the Sankhya philosophy, which we already just learned it. And this is the conversation completed between Devahuti, Mother Devahuti and Lord Kapila Dev. And that is actually coming from the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. So just a second.
Want me to share?
So, yes, Prabhu.
Text.
So here, 36th text, we see that Vidura is, Maitreya Muni is telling Vidura that I have answered all of your questions. And this is the description between Lord Kapila Dev and Mother Devahuti, and their activities are the purest of all pure discourses. So we understand how, so what is the Phala Shruti of hearing this discourse? So only few descriptions of activities of particular pastimes or particular lessons given in the Srimad Bhagavatam are considered how do I say it, are mentioned as or given as Phala Shruti, or given at the end of those activities or pastimes as Phala Shruti. Not every activities of the Lord or every lessons or learnings that we learn would have that Phala Shruti given. Although whatever we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, we always have that Phala Shruti, we receive that Phala Shruti, but some context, in some context only it is given, some pastimes only it is given, that whoever hears this particular pastime will receive that Phala Shruti, fruit of hearing. So we understand that Mother Devahuti definitely executed that whatever she heard from her own son, Lord Kapila Dev, who is none other than Lord Krishna. He is also one of the 12 Mahajanas. Whatever she heard, she executed. This is one of the role model behavior that we should learn from those exalted personalities, how Mother Kunti or Mother Devahuti or Bhishma Dev, whoever executed those instructions in one way or another. So sorry, it is echoing. Please mute, everyone mute yourself. So when they hear and they follow the instructions, or they follow in the footsteps of great personalities, they achieve the great perfection, the same highest perfection, right? So these are the examples were given in Bhagavatam, so that we also can follow in their footsteps and try to execute as per the instructions given by those personalities who appear and give us that teachings, like Narada Muni giving instruction to Dhruva Maharaj, and Narada Muni giving instruction to Mrughari, or even Ratnakar, who became Valmiki later on. So when they follow, like common people like us, like Mrughari, even not even common people like us, even he was so much uncivilized in nature, and he was a hunter for living. But then the way how he led his life was not even a way of how a hunter would live. He was like more cruel than ordinary hunter. So for that we can consider that his life was more uncivilized. So when they follow the instructions seriously, they achieve the highest perfection. Similarly, Mother Devahuti also, without any doubt, she followed and she attained the highest perfection of life. From this, we understand that we must also follow the instruction of Lord Kapila Dev, who not only taught Sankhya philosophy, but under the light of Bhagavata philosophy, Bhagavata Dharma. It is Bhagavad Gita. I mean, yeah, same thing what Krishna taught to Arjuna. So we move on to Canto 4, Chapter 1. This is about the creation of the fourth order. Again, Canto 3 and Canto 4, it covers secondary creation, primary creation, and the secondary creation, Sarga and Visharga. So we know the 10 topics of Bhagavatam, Atra Sharga Visharga Sthanam Poshanam Utayaha, Manmantrena Ishanukata, Nirodha Muktir Ashrayaha. So this Sarga and Visharga, the creation, universal creation by the Supreme Lord, that is primary creation, that's Sarga, and the Visharga is the secondary creation of Lord Brahma. And then we will see the Sthanam, Poshanam, the positioning of living entities in various planetary systems, and the protection of Lord. Protection of the devotees by the Lord is the Poshanam, and Utayaha is the impetus, like inclination to act, and Manmantra, that is the history of Manmantras and the reign of Manus, and Ishanukata is the pastimes of the Lord, especially it covers in Canto 10, and Nirodha, it is talking about the annihilation, and Mukti is talking about the liberation, and Ashraya is the surrender, taking full shelter of Lord Krishna. So here we are entering into the creation of fourth order, Canto 4 and Chapter 1. So this is genealogical table of the daughters of Manu. So we will be studying the history, the names of the children of all these progeny of Manu. All right. Text 1. Maitreya uvacha Manostu satarupayam Tishraha kanyascha jajnire Akutir devahutischa Prasutiriti Vishrutaha. Translation. Sri Maitreya said, Swayambhuva Manu begot 3 daughters in his wife Satarupa, and their names were Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Purport. First of all, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Om Vishnupada Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupad, by whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task of writing commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam as the Bhakti Vedanta purports. By his grace, we have finished 3 cantos already, and we are just trying to begin the 4th canto. By his divine grace, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya, who began this Krishna consciousness movement of Bhagavad Dharma 500 years ago. And through his grace, let us offer our obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, and then let us offer our obeisances to Radha and Krishna, the spiritual couple who enjoy eternally in Vrindavana with their cowherd boys and damsels in Rajabhumi. Let us also offer our respectful obeisances to all the devotees and eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord. In this 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 31 chapters, and all these chapters describe the secondary creation by Brahma and the Manus. The Supreme Lord himself does the real creation by agitating his material energy, and then by his order, Brahma, the first living creature in the universe, attempts to create the different planetary systems and their inhabitants, expanding the population through his progeny like Manu and other progenitors of living entities who work perpetually under the order of the Supreme Lord. In the first chapter of this 4th canto, there are descriptions of the 3 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu and their descendants. The next 6 chapters describe the sacrifice performed by King Daksha and how it was spoiled. Thereafter, the activities of Maharaj Dhruva are described in 5 chapters. Then in 11 chapters, the activities of King Prithu are described, and the next 8 chapters are devoted to the activities of the Pracheta kings. As described in the first verse of this chapter, Swayambhuva Manu had 3 daughters named Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Of these 3 daughters, one daughter Devahuti has already been described along with her husband Kardama Muni and her son Kapila Muni. In this chapter, the descendants of the first daughter, Akuti, will specifically be described. Swayambhuva Manu was the son of Brahma. Brahma had many other sons, but Manu's name is specifically mentioned first because he was a great devotee of the Lord. In this verse, there is also the word Cha, indicating that besides the 3 daughters mentioned, Swayambhuva Manu also had 2 sons. Hare Krishna. So, in this text, we see the most interesting part is Srila Prabhupada is talking more about his gratitude and how he would like to take blessings of his Guru and Krishna, Radha and Krishna, excuse me, and offering obeisances to them. Rather than describing the purport itself. I mean, we're talking about the verse itself. He is more into the mood of gratitude and appreciating his position and how he has received the blessings or benedictions from his guru, so that he continued with the journey of giving the spiritual knowledge to the one and all. So here we see this pattern of how great personalities again do the right thing. So how great people do and common people follow. So we see that Srila Prabhupada offering his respectful obeisances to his Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then he also offered his obeisances to Radha and Krishna. And we see who else he is offering obeisances to. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. and he mentions, he specifies here that he began this Krishna consciousness movement of Bhagavata Dharma 500 years ago. And so from this, we see that he offers respectful obeisances to this Guru and Krishna, Radha, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order. Same way, we see so many other great personalities do the same thing before beginning something, right? Even we also follow every day when we read Bhagavatam, before we start the verses or explaining the verses from as per our realization or as per our learning, we actually offer our respectful obeisances to all the great personalities also. And you see Srila Vyasadeva, when he was so much in distress, when he self-examined himself, even though he has written the Vedas, he split the Vedas into four, Atharva Veda, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda, and then he wrote 18 Puranas and 108 Upanishads, and then also it includes Bhagavad Gita from Mahabharata Itihasa. He wrote all these great literatures in a very detailed manner, but still he was so much lamenting why that I am not satisfied. What is that I'm not happy about? So when he was in this mood of lamentation, what happens is he himself realizes to one extent that, oh, maybe I have not fully, exclusively explained about the activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Maybe that's why I'm not fully satisfied. Sometimes we also feel the connection or the disconnection between us and the Lord, us and the devotees, sometimes because we had been carried away with few other tasks, or we became busy with something that takes priority in our lives. Then we just had to pause our regular sadhana activities, like for example sometimes going to the temple or taking association of the devotees, taking darshan on a regular basis. Then we feel that disconnection, we feel like, oh, there is something not right. And then when we contemplate on it, when we self-examine, introspect, then we understand, yes, that we have not fully engaged ourselves in some sadhanas that we usually do. So when we do that, of course, that is all blessings of Guru and Krishna, Paramatma residing in our hearts. He also gives us that vision or that detail way of looking at things. So when Vyasadeva was lamenting what happened, Narada Muni appeared. So this is another benediction that we receive from Guru, that when we are depressed or in distress, and we do not know, like when we are perplexed, when we are confused state, like how Arjuna was in the state of confusion, he also approached Krishna as his guru, spiritual master, and so Shishyate Hamsadi Mam Tvam Prapannam. So he said, okay, I am your Shishya now. Tell me what is good for my long term, in a long term, what is best for me. So please guide me. So this is Guru. It's not that he'll wait for you to come approach him and then ask him for guidance. That's one way of giving you guidance also, but also Guru would automatically appear either in your dream or through his representatives or through his teachings, or directly he would give you, or even through Paramatma, of course, give you that guidance or that clarity on, okay, what you need to do or how you can approach this, how can you manage the situation, how do you deal with this. So all this kind of this enlightenment will be given by our Guru, right? So Srila Vyasadeva was more fortunate to have his Guru appeared in front of him to give him the right guidance at the right time. So we may ask, Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Lord. He's the literary incarnation of the Lord, and his main purpose is to give the literature to the people of Kali Yuga. Because Kali Yuga people, Manda Sumanda Madayo, Manda Bhagya Upadrataha. So we see that Kali Yuga people are not very exalted personalities like people in Satyuga or any other yugas. So they are very much in as a state where they are, have less memory, short-lived, and always in distress and confused and lazy. So these qualities are not, that's very conducive to perform any bhakti. Therefore, for Kali Yuga people, especially Vyasadev wrote at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, he wrote all these literature just to record it. So it is there because we don't have the skill of, okay, you hear one time and then you just memorize everything. No, we don't have that ability. We have to repeatedly read it and hear it over and over again. Even then, we just memorize or remember only some part of it if it can be related to our situation. And the other part of the discourse, we just forget it. So that's very natural for Kali Yuga people. And when we progress in Kali Yuga, as we progress, the situation is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse only. So coming back to Arjuna and Krishna, so because Krishna was approached by Arjuna, Krishna said, okay, I will teach you Bhagavad Gita. I will give you what is the highest religion and what you have to do, Sarvadharman Paritrajya. Then again, we take a U-turn to Srila Vyasadev and Narad Muni. Now, in this case, Vyasadev did not approach Guru directly. However, Guru himself appeared in front of Vyasadev and told, yes, you are correct. He confirmed with Vyasadev that the reason for your lamentation is correct. You have to exclusively glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and talk about all those activities involved. So that's why we have Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's Vyasadev. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami also, before commencing a nectar of devotion, he offered his respectful obeisances. And before that, Srila Vyasadeva, what he did after getting instruction from Narada Muni, he began this Srimad Bhagavatam. And we know from verse 1 itself, or if even first 3 verses, all the prayers offering obeisances, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's how Janmadi Yasheto. Sarveshu Abhinyasuram. So he just began the conversation, or not conversation, but the Bhagavatam writings by offering respectful obeisances to Guru, to Krishna, to Mother Saraswati, all those personalities. And then coming back to Srila Rupa Goswami, when he wrote, before writing Nectar of Devotion, he also offered his respectful obeisances to his Guru, Srila Sanatana Goswami, who also happens to be his brother, elder brother. So, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also began, when he began writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, he did exact same thing. He not only offered obeisances to his own Guru, but he offered obeisances to the entire Guru Parampara. That is also our Vaishnava tradition of offering obeisances to Guru Parampara. So we, as followers of Vaishnava philosophy, we also offer obeisances to our own spiritual master, that first spiritual master, and then his spiritual master, and then that is Srila Prabhupada, and then we offer obeisances to Pancha Tattva, 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Excuse me. And then Radharani. So we also have the tradition of following that pattern of offering respectful obeisances. So the verse that we are discussing today, we will learn more about who would be the children of Akuti, and what would be the story about Daksha and Daksha Yagya and Shiva, Dhruva, Prachetas, Prutu. So we will learn all that, no problem. And Dhruva. But it's more about this verse, the purport of what we can gain from this purport. So that's where I was so much inclined to, because when I read the purport, I was so much interested in dwelling deep into it, because you see, Prabhupada always expresses his gratitude towards his own Guru first. correct? And also he has equal respect to other gurus, gurus in the Guru Parampara, and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no doubt. But we see repeatedly his love and gratitude towards his guru, and how he always has this connection with his guru. And that is something we learn from him. And even in the purport, he takes the opportunity to glorify his guru. And without his guru, he wouldn't have come to this far. And he appreciate the fact how he has completed three cantos successfully, now entering into fourth canto. He only briefly describes about what will be covered in fourth canto, but more he's talking about his expression of gratitude towards his guru. And Radha Krishna and other personalities. But here, Srila Rupa Goswami, when he was confused, see, again, we see the pattern of how Guru and Krishna reciprocate when we are in the state of perplexion or confusion, how they appear through someone or through something. Like, for example, if we read a book or hear a lecture, then we see that that is so relevant to our situation, and it is so much for our own learning, rather than it's just a coincidence, right? We see that many times when we are not happy about something, when we are really sad and we wanted to get over this, and or we need to manage this or deal with this, then we just happen to hear some lectures randomly, then randomly we pick a book of particular canto from Bhagavatam and read it. And then whatever we read or study, then it seems to be so relevant to us, to that particular a situation. And we see, oh wow, Krishna is so merciful, Guru is so merciful, that they are teaching me what I should do here. So this is their mercy, correct? In previous yugas, they have this ability that they can see, take the darshan of Guru and the Lord directly, but fortunately, we have other modes of how we can reach our Guru and Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada also still lives with us through his teachings, right? Books and lectures and letters that he wrote to his disciples and followers. So we have the connection always. When you hear Krishna, Srila Prabhupada classes, even yesterday evening when I was hearing some random class, I felt the connection. Prabhupada is here, and he is just right here giving the class from the Vyasasan. That's the feeling that I just received yesterday evening. It was so enlivening. So here, Rupa Goswami, when he was confused to whether to write the drama Vigataga Madhava or Lalita Madhava, so when he wanted to combine the dramas about the union and separation of Radha and Krishna, this divine couple, already, I believe Kavi Karnapura, I think, yeah, Sri Kavi Karnapura, what is that? Ananda Madhava Champu, some book that he wrote, the literature he wrote, and he wrote only about the union of this Vrindavan pastimes, that union of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan background, but not the separation, not the pastimes happened in Dwaraka and Madura. So Srila Rupa Goswami, because Manobrishtam Sapitamena Bhutale, Rupa Goswami knows the internal desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants, that we not only learn the mood of their union, but also we should learn the mood of their separation. That is Vipralamba Bhav. So we should learn that how we deal with that separation, correct? So we are also separated from Krishna and Radha, but we never had, or I should say we forgot about how the union was when we were with Krishna, Radha and Krishna, right? Therefore, this separation of not having Radha and Krishna is unfortunately not very intense, because we never had the experience, or rather we forgot the experience that we had with Radha and Krishna in union. Therefore, the separation, see, For example, if you have, say for example, you love a particular thing that you have in you possess in your life. And when you don't have that possession anymore, then you feel the separation, correct? So say for example, I had my mobile phone and I love my phone, which is not true, by the way. I mean, of course I use it for whatever I have to use it for, but then to be honest, I don't want to use the technology as much as I do. But the point is, let's say for example, I love my phone and I wanted to do whatever I do with the phone, but then I lose my phone. Then the feeling that I would have, oh my God, now I don't have my phone. Now I can't do this. I was doing this with my phone. I was doing that with my phone. Now I can't do this anymore. This is sad. And I had so many things stored in my phone. Now I've lost it. So these things, this is very silly example, of course, but when you have your loved ones and they traveled away, they had to travel away from you, then you feel that separation. Correct. And these days we are so attached to, not all of us, of course, some of us are more attached to the technologies than to people. That's why I brought up that example. But generally speaking, when you have lost that being together or togetherness with that possession or that loved one, then you feel the separation, correct? But unfortunately, we forgot about how that union we had with Radha and Krishna. Therefore, the separation we go through now is only through oral reception. Ashnoti, Ashrunoti. That was the verse. That was the that word from the last verse of the last canto that we were reading. Third canto. That means hearing. So when we hear and read, that's how we understand, oh, this is how the separation was. So particularly and purposefully, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and exhibited the mood of separation from Jagannath, or when he had darshan of Jagannath, when he had darshan of the Narsimha, when he had darshan of any deity, Sri Ranga Nada. So he exhibited that mood of okay, how you get together with someone that you have lost them for so long. So that's the mood that he exhibited. And also he exhibited the mood of separation, all the symptoms that he exhibited. So from that we understand that yes, Srila Rupa Goswami wanted to write a book about it, the drama of Vrindavan and then Madhura and Dwaraka as separate. Or he was confused. Actually, his confusion was whether to, put them together in as a one book or separate it. So he wasn't quite sure. And then what happened? Then Satyabhama appeared in his dream and told, well, Rupa Goswami, make it separate. Okay, so that you have two separate dramas. And then he followed it. So these are the things that we see, the lessons we see, that how Krishna himself or Laxmi Devi, like Satyabhama who appeared, Radharani, they appear in dreams, or Jagannath, so they appear in dreams, or Guru. So they appear in dreams or in person to tell us, okay, what you should do now. Because they understand the intensity of our love and devotion towards them. Not for every one of us, they appear and give the instructions, correct? Only when we have developed the deep connection with them, the personal relationship with them, then even though you have not prayed to them, only in your heart, you're just, contemplating on the things that you have to face, automatically you receive that instruction. That means you're in a state of advancement in that spirituality, correct? That's why, of course, to give you the taste, also sometimes Krishna or Guru appear in our dreams or through someone or something and give us instruction. That is also true. But when we have developed the deep connection, then that becomes very like a routine thing. So offering respectful obeisances, who should we offer respectful obeisances? We see this story by Srila Prabhupada, and this is mentioned in Mukuntamala Stotra. You might have heard the story, so please bear with me if you already know this. So there was a man, and he wanted to be a servant of the greatest man, another man. So what he did, he lived in a small village. He wanted to approach someone, so to find out who would be the greatest person that he can serve. So he finds out that the local village chief happens to be the greatest man of all in the village. So the man approaches him, the village chief, and asks him, "Can I be your servant? And I want to serve you." And the man says, "Okay." The village chief says, "Okay, you can be my servant." So this man who became a servant became very happy and satisfied. And he thought, this is it. And now I can continue my life until the end of my life to serve this man. Then one day what happens? The district governor comes to the village. And then this village chief offers his obeisances to the governor, the district governor. This man was watching this and then realized that, oh, so what does this tell me is this village chief is no longer my greatest man who I thought he was, but rather this new district district governor is. Then this man approaches this district governor and asks the same question, "Can I be your servant? And I believe you're the greatest man of all." And then he says, "Yes, you can be my servant." And then he becomes his servant. And then again, he becomes satisfied and happy and continues his life. And then one day, this village district governor approaches the king. And then he pays tax to the king and he offers his respectful obeisances to the king. Then again, this man realized the situation and then he approaches the king, asks the same question, and then he becomes the king's servant also. And then again, he becomes satisfied and happy. And then one day, this king by himself, he goes to the forest alone and goes to the sadhu. And this servant who was watching the king, he also followed the king into the forest. And he watches what the king is doing. And the king offered his respectful obeisances to the sadhu and starts to serve him. And then the servant realized, oh, so far I thought the village chief, the district governor, and then king, they were all the greatest man of all. Now, the greatest man who I thought it was the king who himself offer obeisances to the sadhu. That means sadhu must be the greatest personalities of all of them. Then he approaches the greatest man, that's a sadhu, and says that, can I be your servant? And then sadhu asks why, and then he says all the story and says, this is why I want to be your servant. I think you are the greatest person of all I have seen so far. And then sadhu says, well, I am not the greatest person of all. The saintly sadhu humbly says, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the greatest of everyone, and we must be serving him. And then he asks, okay, where can I see Krishna? And then sadhu says, in the temple. And where is the temple? And then he shows the path, and then this man goes to the temple and offers his obeisances to Sri Krishna. And then Sri Krishna accepts him as his servant. Now we see from this lesson that we offer our obeisances or respects in our hearts to so many people. Again, not all of us will be doing the thing that what I'm going to say, but generally speaking, in Kali Yuga, what else we expect? We see that when you have money and power, people give us respect. Especially we see in India, in politics, of course, you see people offer their respects to whoever that they have the position. And when you lose the position, automatically you lose the respect. This is Kali Yuga. And if you want to achieve something, or if you know that you will gain something from someone, then we offer our respect to that person, right? This is pretty much the quality. These are the qualities of people who are very materialistic, of course. Fortunately, when we follow the Sanatana Dharma, Bhagavata Dharma, we have developed this, whatever the qualities, what we learned from our Guru Parampara. Therefore, we fortunately don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. So in politics, the politicians, when they take the role, they're pretty much the lord over everything that we see, correct? Therefore, the people have to respect them. If they don't respect them, we know what happened, the consequences of not respecting the politicians who are who have power. Even if they don't have power as much, they still can take, they take revenge. They become very angry and start to send gundas and do whatever they do. We see how Prabhupada went through this Juhu temple, building this Juhu temple, also how much struggle he went through. Even in Mayapur also the same or similar to struggle the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they went through as well, correct? So fortunately, we are in a good position. So we only offer our respects to the right personalities, but we'll be assertive to give our respects to some extent to some to our bosses and to the local authorities, state authorities, and national authorities, of course. But the point here is, from what we learned from this verse, that there is a way, and also we need to identify who we should offer our obeisances to receive the benediction. So the three processes involved in offering obeisances is defining the object, and then receiving the benediction, and then offering obeisances itself. So, all right, that is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I stop here. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments or corrections?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Just to wondered if you could also speak a little bit on why do we do that? In other words, why is it that, what are the reasons behind offering obeisances to the parampara or to the seniors before we even launch on any project? You did mention that it's due to gratitude. Could you please expand a little bit more on it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you. Yeah, I'll try to explain to my level of understanding. So when we receive the blessings of our Guru Parampara, before we begin anything, even before we start our cooking in the deity kitchen, we do some prayers and offer, incense sticks and everything, and then begin the cooking. So before we commence anything, we see this is coming from Vedic culture also. Even in India, before we use anything, before we commence anything, that we offer our prayers or obeisances to the Lord himself and also Guru Parampara. But only after coming to Krishna consciousness, I've learned that we offer obeisances to Guru Parampara. Before that, offering obeisances to the Lord directly was what I learned. But later on, I learned this also. So why we do that is to purify ourselves. So we might have a lot of contamination in our heart, and we shouldn't make any offense to any living creatures, living entities in the process of what we are going to do. So for example, if we are writing a book and we might offend somebody by coding something, but not intentionally, but unintentionally, or when we cook something that might become in the mode of rajasic or tamasic, and it might offend some devotees, Vaishnavas, because we are supposed to cook in the mode of goodness, and also the product that we produce should be also in the mode of goodness, at least if not in the mode of pure goodness. Of course, we are all still trying to advance in our spiritual journey. Therefore, going into spiritual, mode of pure goodness is still our goal to achieve. But so far, at least to come to the state of mode of goodness and producing whatever we are going to produce, it's all the product of our Guru Parampara only. We can't take credit for anything that we deliver, of course, but it's more of purification of her consciousness and remove the contamination of her material conditioning, and receiving that benediction will remove all this. And to attract their sympathy, I can say, or of course to attract their blessings, to attract their the divine side on us, so that we do the right thing in the right circumstances and at the right time in a right way and deliver as it is supposed, as expected, right? So when we do not do that, the consequences would be maybe we might get puffed up, or we might become very proud of our doings or what we delivered, and that will definitely be the cause of our fall down. We do not want that. That humility start with the prayers and offering obeisances. Our parampara is always Tarorapi Sunishena, what is that? Trinadapi Sunisena, Tarorapi Sahisuna. So that's our consciousness we are trying to imbibe. So therefore we must attract that divine blessings from Krishna, Guru, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything before we commence anything. Prabhu, if I've not answered or addressed your question, please feel free to tell me your points.
No, you have answered properly, actually. It is important for us to know that whenever we are launching on some project, of course, we take the blessings because we are thinking that we are actually, this is not going to be successful on our own strength. So the ego that you mentioned, that was actually a very primary point, because generally speaking, even when Brahma started doing anything that the Lord has told him to do, he also was praying to the Lord that please don't let me become, puffed up, thinking that actually I'm the doer. I know that everything that I'm able to do is just because of your blessings and your grace. So actually, it's not just something for lip service. It is actually the fact that we do not do anything. Everything happens by divine energy. Anything, especially in regards to the spiritual aspect of life, that can only be progressed upon by spiritual blessings, by higher blessings. Otherwise, it is not possible. It's initiated by the high authorities, as well as its initiation also happens by the high authorities. The process that is to be followed is also given by the high authorities. And then finally, the end result, which also comes, are due to also the blessings of the Guru Parampara. So therefore, everything in our life is based upon, especially our spiritual life is based upon that. And the materialist, of course, they base everything on their own strength, and they think that I am the Lord of all Isvari. And he see the example of Ravan, how he was so puffed up. We see the example of so many demons who were actually puffed up. They thinking they are the doers, and that they are unconquerable. And this kind of mood actually is very, very detrimental if one wants to take to spiritual life. So as you said, you also covered this Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sahishnuna. And then if you have those two, then you also can have Amani Namana Dena. If you don't have the first two, that you are more tolerant than a tree and more humble than a blade of grass, then you cannot actually give respect or to others and not expect respect for yourself. It is very, that whole verse is encapsulated on its own. So therefore, you in a nutshell did cover everything. Actually, I'm just expanding upon what you said. but it's a wonderful thing that we have got these blessings from our previous acharyas, the Guru Parampara. Every step of advancement that we make is also their blessings. If we keep this mood, we will always remain grateful. We will always remember them. In every activity that we do, we will also be completely surrendered to their mercy. In this way, we remain protected we remain free from offenses, and we make our progress very, very clear. And if some obstacles do come, then we have the wisdom to look upon those obstacles in the mature spiritual way, so that we can then those obstacles remain no longer an obstacle, because we see that the positive side of the obstacle and we just move forward. So yes, very good. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much,
Good.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So any other questions? Yeah, I wanted to cover that part also about Brahma's prayers before beginning the creation and everything. So the prayers is where everything starts in our parampara, in our sampradaya, in any sampradaya, in fact. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
You covered few verses. I think 4 verses you covered.
Yes,
And
Prabhu.
your flow was, your knowledge and was very good. You described a lot of things which I need to listen to again and again. But thank you very much for your information.
Thank
Hare
you very
Krishna.
much, Prabhu. Hare
Have a good
Krishna.
day, Mataji. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna Mataji. Thank you very
Hare
much
Krishna.
for your nice class, Mataji.
Thank you
And
very much.
also all those points very nicely pointing out how all of our acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada, they exemplify that mood of reverence and service through the Guru Parampara rather than by ourselves. Like that is the main aspect that, as Nandakishore Prabhu was saying as well, we don't have that
The ability to,
the power and the ability.
Mhm.
So unless we actually go
Maybe.
back to
Yes.
to the Guru, like through the Guru only we can actually do anything. And
Correct.
that's why, like, see, even though we've got Srila Prabhupada as our primary Guru, but still in terms of deity worship, that is why we still have our initiating spiritual master as well in there for us to worship through him as well. Like, unless otherwise, he's the one who connects us to the parampara. So that is why we have him. Whereas in terms of the instructions, when we do the thing, we use prayers to all of them, and then we do it. So that's generally the way that we are actually enabling our service, because we don't have the ability. Only the Guru's words actually give us that ability, because with the words comes the power to execute. We don't
Correct.
have the power. Thank you,
Correct. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, well said. So we say the karta ahamiti manyate. So we shouldn't think we are the doers. So yes, Prabhu, definitely. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So if no other questions, then we'll end here. Vancha kalpatrubhishya kripa sindhubhye vacha padithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
At Grace Laxmi Priya Mataji, sorry, Isvari Laxmi Priya Mataji ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.